Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Back to Hoops. Before we get into the main content of the video today, we'd just like to give a special shout out for the sponsor of today's video, Utility Apparel. Utility is a kit provider specialising in Quidditch, involving team kit, referee gear and snitch gear. They do have an online store that includes such things as their Pride collection and their 2020 collection. Now, they've offered Back to Hoops viewers and subscribers a 20% off discount on their orders with the code Back2Hoops. It's valid for 10 days, so if you click the link in the description, it should be there for you. Wishing you all the best of luck and onto the video.
Because obviously I can't just keep filming myself all the time. So big thank you to them. You can find them on Facebook. Links are in the description and at the end of the video. Cool. So, core mechanics, throwing. We're going to look at some theory of it, when you want to use the different kinds of throw, different types of throwing, because there are different styles that you want to use for different things. Some examples of this in action to show that it's not me just talking out my arse. And then some adjustments you might want to make depending on size, essentially. Okay. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Jay. Say hi, Jay.
Hello, everyone.
And say hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Thank you.
Oh,
4
classic.
videos in. It's the first time he's done that. That's all I wanted. Classic Dan joke. Good laugh. Cool. Right. So, something about throwing in general. Throwing in Quidditch is honestly quite a bit different to throwing in any other sport for a couple of simple reasons. One, the quaffle. It's not designed to be thrown. It's a volleyball. It's definitely not meant to be designed to be thrown in the wet. And so some adjustments to how you hold the ball and its flight will come up. Okay. It's a fact. You play in the UK, it's going to rain at some point. Get used to it. Second obvious big difference between this and any other throwing sport you can think of, really, is the broom. It acts as a counterweight for your centre of balance. It acts as something you need as an impediment to your movement, and it will change your throwing form to a degree. So it's all good and well being able to bang in a goal from 50 yards off a broom. If the second you're holding a broom, your technique goes to shit and you can't do anything. Okay, so where the broom is, how it counterbalances your form is something you're going to have to get used to. And so we're going to adjust and look at today. Anything you want to add on that, Jay, before I move on?
Yeah, so before we start, just to add some more weight to this, there was a point in my Team UK coaching career when James was head coach where 80% of my role was fixing people who couldn't throw, and I would stand with people who could not throw well until they could. I think when you're throwing a ball, there's a lot to consider. Everything factors in: the size of your hands, the length of your arms, size of your torso, size of your legs, how big your step is. You don't need to worry about that, okay? Your body will naturally adjust if you get the core ideals right. Everyone's going to throw differently. Everyone's throwing form's going to look a bit different. The same way with shooting a basketball, everyone looks different, but it's the same core concepts. If you nail the core concepts, what it looks like doesn't matter, but it's about getting those core concepts to be effective, and then you can start to make your own personal adjustments.
The other thing I would definitely add is, as I said in the intro, this is something that I don't think anyone practices enough. Anyone. Like, I don't think even you practice it enough. Like, you don't nail every pass every time. Like,
I've barely
your completion is pretty good. Well, I mean, there's a video on Facebook of you, missing from, I think it's about this far. But honestly, yeah, like, please, if you want to take Quidditch seriously, if you want to get yourself to the next level, practice throwing, right? As a coach, having to spend time at a practice session, at a training session, practicing throwing, because we can't do the offensive mastermind tactic that I've thought of in my head because the pass can't be nailed every time is soul crushing. And if you ever seen me at a training, I'm not necessarily the happiest, smiliest person, and it's because of that. Go and practice throwing in your own time, not mine. Thank you.
I will,
and I'll end the video there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
As a shameless, non-sponsored advert, there's something for £30 that you can get on Amazon, which I have, which is basically a shooting net, which is a plastic square on 2 legs that you plop in your garden, and it's a little rebounder for £30. And honestly, it has made my isolation a lot better, but it really does improve your throwing. Okay, throwing against an X on a wall can be boring, but throwing against like an actual visible target is really, really useful. And if you have friends or a partner, drag them out and throw a ball. My ideal first date is someone saying, do you want to go chuck a ball in a park? Yeah?
That's why we get on
Please. It's why you're the one, James. It is just worth doing. Footballers practice kicking a football. Rugby players practice chucking a rugby ball. A javelin thrower practices throwing a bloody javelin. Yeah? It's the same principle. Just do it. Just do it.
We're very passionate about this.
Just on that, you obviously said that, still on the screen, that having the broom and stuff is kind of like quite strange. Obviously, still practicing throwing without a broom is still a good thing.
Any practice is better than no practice. Yeah, in an ideal world, everybody has a quaffle, or a bludger. Everyone has a broom. I appreciate that's not the world we live in, but some practice is massive. If after we're out of lockdown and you rock up at training and you know how to throw, you will be on the starting line. Because, yeah, swear to God, okay, let's go on how to throw before
our quick video just become us moaning,
ranting.
But
Back to hoops, it's Salt Mine 2. So, throwing, okay? I've got the key points there that we're going to cover over. I'd like to say thank you to All In for letting me use this footage. You can find it on YouTube. I'm just going to use this talking through. Okay. So, this is throwing bludgeon. It honestly applies to any skill, okay? So, we want to get our elbow nice and high, okay? We're going to talk about it as being above the armpit. Right, so you can see Lucy there. Her elbow is square. It's above her armpit when she's throwing. Okay.
This does mean it can be higher, but as a rule of thumb, your elbow needs to be above your armpit to generate a proper amount of power. You don't want to be like alligator arming your throw because you'll just take all the power out of it. It needs to be above your armpit at least.
Okay. You want to be throwing down, and you can't throw downwards if you're starting low because you'll just miss, okay? So it needs to be, it's like swinging a sword. You want to go from high to low. If you ever watched that Orlando Bloom, Kingdom Come, I think it's called. Great part of it, okay? We've all said feet far apart, wide stance, step into it. You swing the sword, it's good. Okay, and we can see the action here. So it's high, following through with the whole body after the release. Okay. Looking where it's going. So elbow high, stepping into the throw, going over the shoulder and throwing downwards. Okay. Now obviously Lucy is aiming slightly lower than you would if you were passing to a chaser, because she's aiming for someone to beat them out. But the technique is the same, just your release point is slightly different, which we're going to look at in a sec. Okay. Anything you want to add on that, Jay, before we show the different pause examples?
I think, once again, it's just about making it work for you. But what we can see here, this is a really good bit that you're on, James, is because of the broom being there, you can't use your other arm to balance yourself out. So that's why Lucy's leaning a bit more forward on her front foot and her shoulders are starting to roll downwards. Okay, you have to get used to the broom being there. A lot of people throw very upright because they want to keep scanning and show as much as their body. And I think we've got some clips. I think I throw like that, to be perfectly honest. But Lucy here is, it's okay to arc your body and follow through down. You're drawing a diagonal line. You're cutting your sword diagonally, but you need your body to be going forward for a powerful throw. For a weak throw, you can afford to stay upwards, but if you want your throw or your beat to be flat and to be fast, it has to lead your body to go down.
I always think it was a whole body throw. Like, if you think of it as a lever, if I'm only using this part, if this is the part that's moving, that's how far it's going to go. If I'm only using my arm and I'm just whipping my arm, it's only going to go so far. Whereas if I put my whole body through it, it's going to go as hard as I can. That's going to go as fast as I can, as fast as I can. And it means I don't have to necessarily work as much on my arm. Like, my biceps strength, size, whatever, doesn't matter here because I'm using the physics of my whole body as a lever to throw it and just literally catapult it forwards. Okay.
Throwing is about technique, not strength. Okay. Lucy is an incredibly talented athlete, but she's not the strongest person in the world. Seb Waters, the keeper for Team UK, is a great athlete, but he's a strong gust of wind's going to blow him over. Okay. It's not about being huge. It's about getting the technique right.
Yeah, I think John, as an example, John is incredibly strong, but his throwing form is not as good as Seb's, and so it doesn't go as far. Yeah.
You can get hit by it next training, mate.
John will be on my team. I'm not dumb. Cool. So here we're going to see our very own Jay Holmes throwing into his aforementioned but not advertised hoop thing. So this is the shape I want, and I think we should be making. Okay, the red arm as the foot hits the ground. Okay, so as Jay is stepping into his throw, you can see his arm is above square. It's above his armpit. Okay, his elbow is above his armpit. Okay, and he's going to follow down. He's got a wide stance. Okay, and he's going to follow through. Something I've spoken to Jay about before when giving feedback on this is I do think he stepped a little wide, as in he stepped a little to his left rather than having his feet in line, which opens him up a little bit more to be hit, if I'm honest. Like, there's more of him to hit in that space when he's opened up like that. So I would take that advantage on him if I was defending against him. But that's a small nitpick. Okay. Follows 3, 3, 3, 3, over the top, bang. Okay.
What I will say, and I think I'm quite a good example of this, is everyone's build up to their throw is going to be different. How essentially you get the ball to above your armpit is going to be different. When I do it, I have a smaller rotation with the ball lowered down and then have a high arcing over. So my pattern looks more like a small spiral, whereas some people will look like a full circle. Doesn't really matter how you get this action going. What does matter is that your armpit is high. The quicker you can do this action doesn't necessarily guarantee more power, but the quicker your release is, the better, because you've got rid of the ball when you're going for a beat, or you've got that pass offwards. If you have a slow throwing motion, it makes it a lot easier for the defense to take advantage and put you off.
Cool. Okay.
Can we see that again? Because it didn't actually play on my.
Oh, yeah,
go on, if we've got to.
No, you can't. Technology doesn't want to see Jay again. It wants to see Tommy. It's what the people want.
Does Jay step through with his right leg as well? That was what I was going to ask about.
Should do.
No.
Your
Not on this
stationers.
one.
I think you should. Yeah.
So that is something. So we can talk about this. For me, it depends on the range. So I know how much power I can generate without stepping through, and I think for even I can nail this throw. But it depends. If I'm static, I'm going to follow through less so I can secure my base, basically. But when you're throwing on the move or need a longer throw, that's when you want to step through. Okay? But for me, I'm going to trust the mechanics of my arm to make the pass, whereas I think when we look at Tommy's and he steps through, we get to see the power that can generate. But like we were saying, it's about finding what works for you. Stepping through gives more power, but can take a little bit more time. Not stepping through means less power and opens you up to the tackle, but maybe means you're going to be able to release it quick.
Is there a payoff with accuracy for one or the other as well, or will we come on to that later?
Not massively, I don't think. I think your accuracy comes from the alignment of your body with your arm for where your release point is and how much you flick your wrist or the angle of your wrist at the end of it, because that's going to determine where the ball actually goes. The swing of your arm going through and then your body stepping at the end is just about power, more or less. Yeah?
Cool.
Okay. So this is Tommy Ruler. Tommy doesn't have a broom. More fool him. But I did ask him to keep his non-throwing arm in a position where his broom would be, which is why you don't see him using it. Because I know some people, when they throw without a ball, they use their other arm to like aim, and like you don't have that. Okay, so hopefully this time it will work. No, that's Bill. Spoilers.
That's Bill.
This is Tommy though. So again, big step, wide, same position as Jay's. Okay, his elbow is slightly higher, and he follows through and just absolutely wazzes it. Okay, I've slowed this way down so you can actually, see it. His action is very quick. Okay, so there, big step into it. Arm comes in, Jay's mentioned, that wider circle, that bigger circle over, and he's throwing down. And you can see that from the trajectory of the ball with the red line. Okay, he's throwing down. Again, Tommy is not the biggest guy in the world, but because his technique, I think, is spot on pretty much, it goes like a rocket. Okay, that ball goes where he wants it to go more often than not. Okay, and it gets there at pace. Anything you want to add on that, Jay?
No, I think Tommy has one of the purest throws that we'll see, apart from maybe one other person. Spoilers coming out. But I think this is where that big circle comes in. I'd say this is the purest throw and also the easiest one to practice. Starting with the ball low, taking it gently behind yourself, and then following through on that arc. Okay? Obviously, you can make adjustments. We all have our personal throwing preference, and it's about making it work. But I think if you want the clear definition of how to throw, it is Tommy starts with the ball at his side, and it is that big arc round. If you cheat on the arc and you tuck your elbow in, you're going to lose power and you're going to lose accuracy. Okay, it's about coming all of the way around. I know some people watching this might say, well, I can't fully grip the ball, I've got smaller hands, and we are going to come to look at that after we've gone through the core of the throwing forms.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to say, yeah, I completely agree. I think his throwing technique here is bang on. This is, because he hasn't got a broom, what I'm going to be using with my kids in school when we go back for when we do throwing, because it just shows each point of the throwing mechanic. It is something he is working on. I think is trying to get his action speed a little bit quicker. It is quite easy to read as a defender where he's going to throw, and he can't put a fake in because of the winding action and so committed to it. But he compensates for that by it going where he wants it to go. So accuracy trumps there to a degree. Cool. Next up, we have Bill the Cannon Orange. God damn, it hurts being hit by this. And now I know why. Because I've seen how fast he throws. So again, you have that wide face, the intimidating stare of I'm going to hurt you. Elbow above the armpit, arm cocked and ready. Okay, and following through.
So
Bang.
Just watching it here, what makes Bill's throw so quick is that he lifts his back leg and torques his hips forward a lot quicker than anyone else really in the UK does. So if you watch the footage, Bill's beginning to turn his hips when most people are still winding up, whereas Bill, whether consciously or unconsciously, is torquing his hips in the key point of his wind up. He's lifting that back leg in the key point of the wind up, which means not only has he got the power generated from his shoulder, but his shoulder turn works with his hips and with the turn of his back leg, which means he's generating so much more power, so much more fluidly, which means he can get such a huge throw. We see with Bill, it's quite a high arc, so his elbow's way above his armpit, and he's leaning forward. So as he's leaning forward and torquing his hips with that high arc, that's what's generating so much downward force. Okay, if you watch Bill play, his downward throw is a lot more powerful than his eye-line or forward throw, because he's torquing his entire body to face that downward axis. Okay, most of us, when we throw down, it's very powerful, but Bill's using his back leg and the twist of his hips. It's a really strong twist in his throw to mean he can generate that much power. So if any of you are watching, if you throw like this, you'll be halfway there.
Bang. If I need to practice more so I can also throw like that. Yeah. I really feel sorry for the fence that he's throwing at. Cool. To show you that we're not just kind of making this up, I've put the two videos together so you can kind of see actually their form is very similar. I'm really hoping this plays because it's just impressive to see. So you can see their position is almost identical. And the follow through, same thing. They both twist out that end, as Jay mentioned, to try and generate more power. Tommy's arm's just a little bit more bent, but that is because he's trying to throw flatter rather than throwing down. Yeah, I'm really happy with how they throw that. I'm glad they're on my team. Cool. So when we're going to use this kind of throw, okay, we don't use this throw all the time. Okay, this throw, we want to be using this when we are trying to throw it over a longer distance, so it's a more powerful throw, or when we are trying to shoot into a more contested space. Okay, so if you're trying to throw past the keeper, or if you're trying to make that pass from halfway line to back behind it, okay, so when you're trying to throw further across the field, right? The reason for that is, honestly, the action is a little bit slower. Okay, it takes longer to perform this than some of the other passes we're going to look at. It creates more power, so it will go further. Okay, and it's just that little bit more destructive when you're trying to use it. Okay, like I say, on the weakness of it, on the flip side, if you're doing this over a 5 meter distance and you're cannoning it as hard as Bill was just doing it, if you're throwing a quaffle, the other person ain't going to catch it. It's the other thing we don't practice as much as we should, catching. But if you're 5 meters away and you throw it like that, they are not going to catch it. Okay, so it was pointless. Okay, so we're looking for this over a longer distance, or if we are trying to shoot. Okay, so we don't want people to catch this, or it's got a long time to take the speed off it. The weakness of it, the other one is, it is just a lot harder to fake. Okay, Jay might have tested something different. Fake is holy or some other rubbish. Right, it is hard to fake this action. If you fully commit to a throw like that, like Bill just did, like Luce did, like Tommy did, you are throwing that ball, or you are super overcommitted and are going to get either tackled or beat back. Okay, that ball is going one place and one place only. You are not doing any other action off this position. Okay, so it does make it a bit harder to do, which is why you have to throw it harder if you're trying to shoot, because you can't fake which route you're going for or whatever. And I'm not even going to let Jay come back on that because he might lie and say the fake is fine. Okay. Right. The other kind of pass we're going to look at today is a push pass. So this is when I'm trying to push over shorter distance. Okay. It's not as powerful. Okay. But it is a much quicker action to perform. I can do this in a much shorter space of time, and it is much harder to read. Okay, so I'm using Tommy because it's really helpful. In terms of things to be aware of, we're looking at his spacing of his feet. Okay, spread out. The first point in terms of opposite foot to leading foot, that honestly is up to debate. I prefer having your throwing arm and foot both back, because then you can twist into it with your full body, makes it easier to twist. Other people prefer to be pushing with a step on the same foot and arm. It honestly is a personal choice there, I think. I've just gone with this because it's the one that I personally use and also the one that from the people that sent in footage. Okay, but I do know this is one where Jay and I disagree, and that is okay. All couples fight sometimes. No marriage is perfect.
The kids I feel sorry for, like me.
Okay, on this, what we do have is Tommy's arm is cocked back. Okay, his wrist and his elbow are both behind the ball. Okay, he is twisting his body and he is pushing through it. Okay, that's really important. He's rotating through his midriff as well. Okay, but you've got to get your elbow and your hand behind the ball. If you don't, it's going to go skew and you're going to miss left or right. Okay, you're pushing straight. Push through. He also snapped his fingers off down at the end. That is to keep the ball from spinning and floating. Okay, that generates just that keeps it a bit flatter. Okay, that bit you need to nuance because if you do it too much, it's just going to spiral up from the backspin. Okay, but if you can get it, it will make it go flatter. Okay, but the main bit is pushing from behind the ball, from a cocked elbow position, tight into your chest, into your side, and push out. Okay.
Something that I will say makes this pass incredibly useful, as we are going to cover now, is before you've even looked at where you can use it on the field, from your body position, you can use this pass from almost anywhere. Once you've got the shoulder, elbow, wrist action down, you can do this pass when you've been tackled to offload. You can even do this pass from the floor. Once you're comfortable with how to generate the shoulder to elbow to wrist action, you can use this pass anywhere. You can throw across your body, you can throw up, you can throw to the side, you can offload, you can throw it blind if you're comfortable doing that. But it is probably the most versatile pass because you can just throw it from anywhere. You see push passes from players that have been tackled on the ground because this is so useful.
And that is mainly its big strength there. Okay, it is a case of it's a fast action. You can do it from any angle. It's harder, it's easier rather to disguise, which makes it much harder to read as a defender, which means you're going to complete this pass more often, provided you're using it at the right time. Okay, where it is a bit weaker is if you're trying to push over a longer distance. Okay, everyone's going to have a much shorter maximum range for this technique of throwing than an overarm throw, and you have to accept that. There's no point trying to force a push pass halfway to hoops. It's not going to get there with any degree of speed. Okay, use the right throw technique for the right situation. Okay, going to practice both. This is another all-in video, which again I will link in the end. Okay, this is a technique adjustment for if you can't hold the ball in one hand. So if you can't hold the ball like this upside down, okay, with your hand on top, this is another way of doing an overarm throw. Okay, and we'll get this to go through in a sec. Okay, but essentially, she's holding that ball, she's cupping it in her hand, and she's rocking back onto her back foot, palm up, so the ball is in her palm. Okay, held over. Okay, and then she's going to rock from back foot to to front foot in order to basically cannon the ball, sling it forwards. Okay, so back foot, side on, same as last time, but it's really just the hand distance. Okay, pulls it back, rocks back on back foot, pulls shoulders back to a square in line, and follow through. Okay, over the top and across. Now, this does mean that she is committed to this throw. Okay, she is again not going to be faking in this. The ball is going to go forward unless she throws it into her own hands, but it does compensate for the ability to not hold the ball in one hand. Okay, and it still generates an enormous amount of power given the relative sizes. Okay, so that's cup it into hand, rock back, and then bring your arm over the top of you and throw across. And this will also work in the wet, which has the massive advantage. Okay, so if you have got the bigger hands, if the ball is slippy or it's overinflated, this is still another technique you can use if you want to throw. Okay, like a windmill, like throwing a cricket ball. Right, that's going to wrap it up in terms of going through these techniques. I hope you enjoyed this video on core skills. I would like to shout out to All In for providing us the videos that we used there with Lucy and Lucy, and to Velociraptor QC for sending in footage of themselves throwing so we could use it. Links to their Facebook pages are on this slide, and the link to the All-In playlist of videos, which have a range of other videos and coaching ideas, can be found there. Please like and subscribe to the video. Please follow us on YouTube and on Facebook. I've done it this time, Dan, because Dan dropped the ball last time, ironically. Take care, and hopefully see you all soon. Bye.